I never thought I'd be the kind of man to sit here, opening up about wounds I never asked for, but maybe you'll understand why when I tell you what happened to me. You see, my name is Anthony, and once upon a time, I believed in the kind of love that could weather storms, silence doubts, and hold up even when the world pressed against it. I believed in my wife, Lydia, more than I believed in myself. We were married young, too young maybe, but our bond felt unshakable, carved into stone. For years we dreamed of building a family, of passing on the traditions and the legacy my parents had instilled in me. But that dream turned into something darker, something that would twist my life inside out. Lydia told me she couldn't have children. She cried when she said it, I remember, tears streaming down her cheeks as she clutched my hand and whispered that her body had failed her, failed us. And I, being the man who thought love meant protecting, even against invisible enemies, believed her without hesitation. For years I carried that weight with her, told myself that what mattered was us, not whether our blood carried forward. I told myself that love would fill the void, and for a long time I thought it did. But here's the part that will make you lean in, the part that made my world rupture. Lydia lied. She didn't just lie about infertility, she lied about everything, and the truth would come crashing down in a way I could never prepare for. But before I tell you about the night it all came to light, the night when DNA results ripped apart every illusion, I need you to see Lydia the way I saw her, because otherwise none of this will make sense. She wasn't just my wife, she was my confidant, my anchor, the woman who looked at me with a tenderness that could strip away the hardest day. I thought she was my forever, and that belief almost killed me. If you've ever trusted someone so completely only to have that trust shattered, stay with me. This is your story as much as mine, and if you've ever been betrayed like this, hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to share might help you see that surviving is possible. The cracks started small. Lydia worked late more often, excuses piling up like bricks I didn't want to examine. She guarded her phone with a nervousness that gnawed at me, but I told myself it was paranoia. I had always promised I wouldn't be that jealous husband, the one who turned love into surveillance. But there were nights when she came home and smelled faintly of cologne I didn't wear, when she was distracted at dinner, when she smiled at texts that weren't mine. I swallowed those suspicions because the alternative was too painful. If she was lying, then my whole life was a lie, and I wasn't ready to face that. It was my mother who planted the seed that would grow into revelation. One afternoon, she mentioned seeing Lydia in town, slipping into a cafe with a man she didn't recognize. She described him as tall, broad-shouldered, with a way of leaning toward Lydia that wasn't casual. My chest tightened, but I laughed it off, told my mother she must have misread the situation. Inside, though, I was unraveling. I couldn't let go of the image of Lydia smiling at another man. And then came the night that made me question my sanity. I came home early from work, earlier than I ever did, and I heard a voice through the half-open window of our bedroom. It wasn't Lydia's. It was a man's voice, low, intimate, too close. I froze outside, my hand gripping the doorknob so hard I thought it would snap. The conversation ended quickly, the sound of Lydia laughing before footsteps moved away. When I stepped inside, she was alone, sitting on the bed with her phone clutched tight, her face too composed. She said she was talking to her sister. My blood went cold because I had hurt a man, but I didn't confront her, not then. Fear paralyzed me. The fear of what knowing would mean. The truth came in the cruelest way imaginable. A letter. Not even meant for me. It was tucked into Lydia's purse, a folded sheet with words that tore the world apart. He looks just like me. I wish we didn't have to hide this forever. The words burned into me. He looks just like me. A child that Lydia had told me she could never have. A child with another man. For days I moved like a ghost, my body at work, my mind trapped in the cage of that letter. I watched Lydia closer. saw the way she avoided certain topics, the way she bristled when family spoke about children. She had built her deception carefully, but now every detail stood out like flashing neon. I began to investigate quietly, piecing together scraps of evidence like a detective in my own life. And then I found it, a photograph hidden in the back of her drawer of a little boy with dark eyes and a smile that wasn't mine. He couldn't have been more than 5. My knees buckled as I realized the truth. She hadn't just lied about infertility. She had hidden a whole life from me. I confronted her that night, my voice shaking, the photograph in my hand. She denied it at first, then broke down, confessing in a flood of words that felt like acid. She had fallen for someone else years ago. Briefly, she said, a mistake. She got pregnant, terrified of what it would mean, and so she spun the web of infertility to shield herself. She never thought I'd find out. But the boy, her boy, was being raised quietly by the other man, and she had been slipping away to see him, to live this double life. I thought my heart would stop. It wasn't just the betrayal of the affair. It was the theft of my legacy, the lie that robbed me of the choice to be a father, the years wasted in devotion to someone who saw me as a safety net while her heart wandered. Rage burned, grief swallowed me, and yet, somewhere inside, a cold clarity formed. She had built her world on lies, and I would not go down with it. The opportunity for truth came at the most unlikely moment, a family gathering. My parents, her parents, cousins, uncles, everyone under one roof. It was supposed to be a celebration, but for me, it became the stage. Because I had done something Lydia didn't know. I had taken that photograph, traced the boy, and found a way to get a DNA test. The results had arrived the morning of the gathering, a sealed envelope heavy with destiny. We sat at the long table, laughter and wine flowing, and I waited. My pulse was a drum in my ears as I stood, the envelope in hand. Conversations quieted as I spoke. I told them all that tonight wasn't just about family, it was about truth. Lydia's face paled, her eyes darting to the envelope like it was a bomb, and in many ways it was. I opened it with hands that shook, but a voice steady as steel. I read the results aloud. The boy was not mine. He was the son of another man. Gasps echoed, silence fell, and Lydia crumbled before them all. The room fractured into chaos, questions, accusations, Lydia weeping, her parents stunned. I felt strangely calm, the storm raging around me while I stood in the eye. I had exposed the lie, torn the mask away. She had stolen years of my life, but she could not steal this moment of truth. Afterward, I walked away from the ruins of that night knowing I could never go back. My marriage was dead, my trust shattered, but my dignity was intact. I had faced the ugliest truth a man can face, that the woman he loved built their life on betrayal, and I had survived it. If you're still listening, maybe it's because you know betrayal too. Maybe not this exact kind, but the kind that cuts you so deep you don't know if you'll ever stop bleeding. Let me tell you this, you will. The pain doesn't vanish, but it carves you into something stronger, sharper. And if my story proves anything, it's that lies may last years, but truth always finds its way out. That's why I tell this story. Not to relive the pain, but to remind myself and you that no matter how carefully betrayal is hidden, it cannot stay buried forever. And when it surfaces, you have a choice: collapse under it or rise above it. I chose to rise. So here I stand, no longer the man who believed blindly, but the man who knows that trust must be earned, not assumed. Lydia's betrayal destroyed the life I thought I had, but it also gave me clarity. And that clarity is a kind of freedom. If you've ever felt that kind of heartbreak, if you've ever discovered that the person closest to you was your greatest enemy, I know your pain. And if you're searching for strength, take mine. Because you, like me, can rise from the ashes. That's my story. That's the truth, and it's why I'll never see love the same way again. This story may be over, but the betrayals never stop. Like this video, share it with your circle, and subscribe to Chronicles of Revenge so you don't miss what's coming next. Another shocking story is just one click away below.